Live the law, the authenticity test. When you're in a situation that is making you feel uncomfortable or disconnected, take a moment to ask yourself, am I being me? If the answer is yes, terrific, forge on. Sometimes feeling disconnected just means that you need to refocus your attention to reconnect in a genuine way, and your discomfort with the situation may stem from pushing yourself in a positive way. Under these circumstances, feeling uncomfortable is being authentic. But if your answer to the question is no, then your next question needs to be, why? Are you actively changing your behavior because of how you think you should act? Is there something about the situation that makes you feel nervous, or inadequate, or unprepared? Take a deep breath and reconnect with that part of you that feels authentic and honest. Ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? You'll find that usually the answer isn't that bad. Remind yourself what you can contribute to the situation. Conveying your genuine self will ground you regardless of outcome. Make the friends you want to make. On day one of my first year of business school, my classmates and I were divided into groups of 65 people, called clusters. The members of a cluster share every single class for the first year, so naturally cliques form. My cluster coalesced around a few subgroups that were delineated by commonalities such as geographic background, financial upbringing, or preferred career path. The two groups with which I found myself most involved revolved around a guy from Boston and one from Brooklyn. The Boston group was the polo shirt and khaki pants crowd. Their mannerisms and humor were more refined and formal, and they appeared to enjoy an elite way of life, with seemingly endless social and business connections. Then there was the Brooklyn crew epitomized by a Brooklyn boy named Dean, a.k.a. Dino, decidedly not refined and proud of it. They hadn't had as many advantages growing up as the Boston gang had, and they were louder, rowdier, often bantering back and forth in a hilarious and off-color way. There was a clear distinction between the two groups, but both were friendly toward me. I liked people in both circles, and could have gravitated toward either. Perhaps if I had been thinking strictly about which group could do more for me, I would have made it an objective to become part of the elite wealthy group. I probably would have gained access to extremely useful contacts, and I definitely would have been invited to some great vacations in the Hamptons. But something about the group's refined tone didn't quite jibe with my natural personality. When I hung out with the Boston crowd, I found myself feeling as if I had to censor my boisterous, extroverted nature. The relationships I had with that group felt a bit forced and tenuous at times. When I spent time with the Brooklyn group, I found that I was simply more comfortable, happier, and relaxed. I still consider many from the Boston group friends. However, the Brooklyn relationships grew much stronger, simply because I could just be myself. When I started spending time with Brooklyn Dino's gang, I wasn't looking for anything beyond friendships and shared interests. Yet the relationships I developed back then continue to enrich my life and my work. Years later, when I called Dino to tell him that I'd been laid off, I was reaching out as a friend. I didn't expect his response to be, "Come work here," which is exactly what I did, less than 1 week after that call. People from the Brooklyn group are more than friends. They have become important clients, colleagues, referrals, and sources of information for me, both professionally and personally. And I wasn't looking for any of these outcomes when I befriended them. So here's the point. Cultivate the connections that you want to have, not the ones you think you should have. Build relationships with the people you enjoy, based on your authentic experiences of them. That is, when you are being your authentic you. The rest will follow. The network that you create is the one that will sustain you. Live the law. Do it, reframe it, or delete it. When you make the choices you want to make, not the ones you think you should make, you allow your authentic self to emerge. It's not just about choosing the situations you want to partake in, but also about deciding how to respond to events once they are in motion. There are 4 basic attitudes that we bring to each situation, and they can reaffirm what is authentic for us, or help us readjust our approaches to let the authentic in. Get to. This is how you think about the things that make you feel genuinely giddy, alert, and excited. Want to. These are the things that you freely choose to do, even though choosing and achieving them is not always easy. Have to. These are the things you dread, even though they must be done. Should. These are the things that society, your company, or some other outside force seems to think it would be good for you to do. And even though you may agree with those notions, the things in this category are not ones you want to do, but rather ones you feel obligated to do. To put these attitudes to the test, choose anything from your to-do list or your upcoming calendar of events, and then quickly, without thinking about it, jot down the attitude that most fits how you feel about the task. Get to, want to, have to, or should. You'll be surprised by how much this simple exercise reveals. For instance, if you have an upcoming speaking engagement at a local high school, you could find yourself thinking, I get to speak to 400 lively teenagers, or I have to speak to 400 rowdy teenagers. Same situation, different attitudes. Once you know what your attitude is, you can consider your options and decide what to do about it. Option 1. Do it. If you have a get to or want to attitude toward a situation, then choosing to do it is easy. If your attitude is have to or should, you may still need to figure out how to get it done, if the task is important enough, even if the authentic desire to do it isn't really there. Under these circumstances, seek a way to accomplish the task that will let you stay true to yourself. In Samuel's case, he has to not only attend fundraisers, but also mingle with guests. This is a key part of his job, regardless of how uncomfortable it makes him. But instead of trying to be the life of the party and imposing an unnatural role on himself, he now opts to talk with smaller groups, an approach that makes him both more comfortable and much more effective. He has taken a have-to job assignment and found ways to do it while remaining authentic and real. Option 2. Reframe it. Sometimes it's possible, and powerful, to take a have-to or should situation and approach it from a new angle, literally changing the way you view it. For instance, if Samuel's original attitude toward a party was, I have to attend the fundraiser and mingle with guests, he could reframe it by saying, I want to tell people about all the amazing things the museum has planned. By reframing a difficult or dreaded situation, you can focus on the aspects of it that make you feel good and energized, recasting it as a get to or want to. Option 3. Delete it. It's not always possible to just hit delete on something you don't want to do. There are things that simply must get done, and in those cases, you need to do them with as much presence as possible. But before you resign yourself to suffering through absolutely every have-to or should situation, take a good second look at them. Often we have so deeply bought into the have-to or should mentality that it dominates our thinking, and clouds our true selves to the point where we end up bowing to the pressure. But if you see that a have-to or should task isn't actually necessary, and that completing it would mean just going through the motions, then delete it from your list. If you can't greet the task with authentic and positive energy, you are not making the best use of your time or yourself.